All right, we're back with another Pick'em video. It is Wednesday, March 26th in the NBA. A little bit of a smaller slate here with 6 games, and I swear I've seen a lot of these games before, or at least similar situations, because I'm going to a lot of guys that I've been going to over the past week with all the injuries happening, with guys getting certain, boosts in minutes or less minutes in certain situations. And yeah, that's what we're going to go through today. So going to talk through the plays that I'm liking, probably talk about some leans in this one as well. But before that, we are going to jump into the recap of yesterday's video, like we always do. We're going to jump into the injury news because there's a lot of them. Giannis just got ruled out. Damian Lillard now dealing with blood clots. He's probably done for the season. Tatum, rolling his ankle. A lot of big name stars still continuing to pile up in these injuries. Some guys are more resting and getting ready for the playoffs, and other guys are literally getting injured. And it just gives us, it sucks as an NBA fan, but it gives us other opportunities to see more guys in bigger minutes, and hopefully you can take advantage and find those different reads. So if that sounds interesting, let's go ahead and get into it. Leave the video a like, comment something down below if you got an extra second or two. Always helps push this video out a little bit more, so I appreciate anyone that does that. And then of course subscribe if you are new. We're only almost at 60 would be crazy, 16,000 subscribers. So hopefully we can get that today, which would be pretty awesome. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you've been thinking about it. All right, so jumping into the recap of yesterday's video, we talked about 4 plays, kind of a wash of a day because we went 2 and 2. We'll start with Chris Paul, going to continue riding his unders because he's not playing a whole bunch of time. 10.5 rebounds and assists was way too high. He can be very efficient in getting his potential, turning his potential assists into assists, but he didn't do much of anything. He didn't score, he didn't rebound, he didn't assist much, he didn't play much, and it was a blowout situation there. And we took Duren in the same game, and I said, hey, even if it's a blowout 10-point game, that doesn't matter too much because Duren's still able to get there. Well, this was like a 30-point game at some points, and Cade Cunningham being ruled out, I knew that was going to affect him a little bit. I didn't expect him to be, he didn't do much in terms of rebounding. That was the biggest thing. He scored okay, he assisted really well, but the points and rebounds weren't there, and Duren, kind of a guy I can't get a good read on. His hit rates look awesome, his matchups look awesome, and that's usually when I attack him. And the Pistons end up blowing those teams out typically, and they did that again once again here. So. Yeah, that was a miss, but Mikal Bridges over 17.5 points. That did hit. I'm glad. It was a great read on not going to rebounds or assists because it didn't do much of anything in there. A lot of big games for some Knicks here. OG Anunoby had a great game, even though he left the game with an injury at some point. Did come back. He had like 35, 38 points or something crazy. But Mikal Bridges ends with 21. So again, good read over the overall, just going to his points. And again, when he's at home, I'm always going to go to his points rather than going to assists, rather than going to rebounds. It's crazy in terms of his hit rates dropping off in terms of diming up and rebounding the ball. When he's on away games, especially without Jalen Brunson, he's really much more of just a scorer there. And then DeAndre Hunter was the last play here, 13.5 points. Started with 5 in the first quarter. I was feeling pretty good, but it was really the Ty Jerome show. So without Donovan Mitchell, I knew one of these guys, role players is going to step up. I thought it could be both of them a little bit, probably both going over their lines. I ended up landing on DeAndre Hunter, who had a big game against the Trailblazers last time, and only ends with 11 points here as Ty Jerome goes for 25, I think. So the wrong role player in that situation. Not the worst read in the world. Obviously, Hunter can score the ball. He just didn't get many minutes from what I saw in terms of the first half, at least. So, with Ty Jerome rolling with him, and Hunter kind of took a seat in the back burner there. So yeah, kind of a watch of a day. We're going to continue to move on. We had a whole bunch of winning days in a row, and I think we're getting good reads. So I'm not mad at any of these reads. Blowout situation for Duren. Hunter, again, we went to the wrong role player. So again, I'm not mad at these at all. Going to try to get some good reads for today, and that's what we're going to hop into. So first, we're going to go over the injury report, and then we will start talking about some plays. And then real quick, before we jump into the injuries, I do want to point out that we've been killing it, and I kind of brush over this sometimes, but if you want to hop in and get access to all of our plays, you can see this is where I get a lot of them. I'm very much a parlay type bettor. That's where I came from. I used to not be able to straight bet. Now I'm in a state that does allow that. So I'm definitely figuring out my straight bets and certain things like that. And I've changed my content to be able to be more general. I'm not just attacking PrizePicks lines. I'm not just attacking Underdog lines, but I do still I do still attack those, and I send a lot of those plays in here. You get access to all those in my Discord community, but you also get access to a really fun chat. And we're one of the cheapest in the industry. It's $20 a month. Plenty of different ways to get in there for free. If you use my code for any of these different platforms, you're going to get a free month. If you do Parlay Play, it's 2 free months. And again, use my code, links in the description down below. Let me know in the comments or in the free part of the Discord that you can join in the link in the description down below and just say, hey, use your code. I'd like to check you guys out for a free month, and I'll go ahead and do that. But we've been killing it, and I kind of brush over that sometimes, and it's been very consistently uptrend. So 163 units in the year of 2025. We were up 70 units plus in January. 35 units in February. We're at 35, 36 units in March now, and I'm really happy with this upwards trend because I'm a parlay type bettor. This isn't including any of my straight bets on FanDuel or DraftKings or anything like that I'm still kind of experimenting with. But with all these different platforms, the parlay type platforms, we're going for 6-mans, we're going for 5-mans. These are plus 2,400, plus 600, plus 1,000 type plays, and you can find very, very big dips in certain situations like that. You're not going to win every single day, so it's definitely more of a long-term game. But again, consistent growth here, which I really like to see, and I'm really happy with what we've been able to do. So if you want access to a really fun community where you can talk to like-minded people, get their opinions, bounce ideas off each other, also get access to all my plays, of course, and then of course our seasoned chefs. They have all their different platforms here as well. We used to have one channel for all of them. I said, hey, these guys are too good to get mixed all in together. Now they each have their own different channel here, so you get access to all their plays as well. So it's a really fun community. Definitely check us out. Again, I brush over it a lot, but I thought it was a pretty good situation just because we continue to kill it, and I want you guys to be able to jump on board with us if you want to do that. So again, all the links in the description down below. Plenty of different ways to get in for free. But yeah, just wanted to point that out. Now we'll jump into the injury news. All right, so hopping over to RotoWire, this is where I get all of my different projections on minutes and injury news and things like that. They're very up to date, and they've been in the game for a long, long time for fantasy sports. So they are very in tune on those projected minutes and all these different types of injuries. We'll start with Washington and Philadelphia. Marcus Smart, Middleton, George, Kalal, Brogdon, Sadiq Bey, all out for this team. Ton of injuries like we've seen. Alex Sarr has been really, really good. Definitely someone I want to look into today. Bob Carrington, 33 minutes projected today. And Jordan Poole, just keep that in mind. He's not playing as many minutes as he usually does because the Wizards are definitely more focused on the future. And if they were smart, with Jordan Poole would not be a part of that. So here's the projected minutes for them. With all those injuries, we got Philadelphia here. Obviously, the injuries to Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Embiid, they're not around anymore. We got no Drummond. We got no Oubre. It's really been the Quentin Grimes show and now the Justin Edwards show. We've seen him get a whole lot of time, 36 projected minutes. He's been scoring the ball really, really well. When he gets that much time on the floor, this was at 15.5 points. It's now at 17.5 points. But even so, Justin Edwards and Quentin Grimes are definitely the main scorers for that team, and they get as many shots up as possible. So ton of injuries for both these teams. Could definitely be a good spot for some of these guys in different situations. Another guy I kind of sneaky like to go to is Jeff Dowden. I don't know if I'll get to him today, but very weak defenses for both these teams, so it could be a pretty good spot to get to some overs. Harder to predict the Wizards just because the minutes aren't always going to be there. I'd like to get to Sarr. His minutes have been trending upwards. And then again, Bob Carrington. Both these defenses are very, very weak, so it could be a good spot to go to some of these guys who are getting more opportunities with all the injuries. Then we'll go to the Lakers and Indiana. We got LeBron James and Rui Hachimura. They're probable, should be ready to go in this one. Indiana, on the other side of things, fully healthy, ready to go. Tyrese Halliburton is going to be probably the easiest play that we've seen in a long time. For some reason, his double-double line is still a normal type of play. It's available on Betr right now. It's available on Dabble right now. So they're saying it's a 50-50 line. A lot of these sportsbooks are putting this or valuing this at minus 120, minus 115 even on some books. But I don't know why, because he's got a great matchup to assist the ball. He's more than likely going to score 10 points. And a double-double for Tyrese Halliburton, I guarantee, is going to be a very popular play today. And it's going to be something we talk about in this video. You can't pass up on a play like this because he's been hitting it very consistently. He's got a weaker matchup, and the value on the play is still really good. So very, very good to see them fully healthy. Tyrese Halliburton will get everyone involved. And on the Lakers side of things, they're relatively healthy as well. For Toronto and Brooklyn, we got no Boucher, we got no Grady Dick, we got no Brandon Ingram, Jakob Poeltl quickly, and then you can see the projected minutes for this team, no one over 30 minutes. So I've been looking at some unders for guys on the Raptors recently, the past week or so, because they're in full tank mode. We saw it with Jakob Poeltl first. They started just playing him, and then when they were about to win games, they would just take him out and pretty much not play him in the fourth quarter. Now we're starting to see that with guys like RJ Barrett, with guys like Scotty Barnes. So if they're even in a close game, these guys don't end up finishing out the games, which is very weird, but kind of a loophole in terms of not getting fined for sitting your guys altogether, especially guys like Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett, the better type of players. The NBA has put a rule into place to say, hey, you have to play these guys if they're not injured. In the loophole here for a lot of different teams, like the Jazz are another team that do this. They just don't play them in the fourth quarter because they still want to lose. And then the same situation here with Brooklyn. They also don't want to win games. Cam Johnson's going to be out. Looks like we're going to get D'Lo in the starting lineup. But again, not anyone getting crazy minutes. So even Claxton, D'Lo, his minutes are all over the place. So it's hard to get to a lot of these guys' overs, even if it's a good situation for them. But Brooklyn's defense is really good. So Toronto, definitely in a good spot to look at some unders here. Then we got the Clippers and the Knicks. James Harden's going to be a game time decision. We'll see if he plays. He doesn't miss many games, so I expect him to kind of be out there. But other than that, Kawhi Leonard, Norman Powell out there and ready to go. Projected minutes for this team, we can see a lot of projected minutes for Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, even Norman Powell, who was losing minutes coming back from that injury, starting to trend back in the right direction here. But yeah, could be good spots here because this could be a good game overall. 3.5-point spread. McBride, game time decision. He's obviously the main point guard here when he's healthy because of no Brunson. So the Knicks have been playing pretty well. They are in a back-to-back. They're the only team on a back-to-back today, but that's the injury news for them. Milwaukee and Denver, we got no Giannis, no Damian Lillard, no Bobby Portis. So definitely an interesting game here. Definitely some guys that are going to get some more opportunities. Brook Lopez, going to be the main guy. Not sure where his points line's at, but he's been really, really good when a lot of these guys are out, especially Bobby Portis. Now, without Giannis in the mix, getting him active in terms of the three-point line, I don't know if he's going to be as effective. Kyle Kuzma, we saw him, what he was doing on the Wizards when he had more opportunities. He's not as good, so I'm sure his lines are going to be up there and high. But I think some of these other random guys like Kevin Porter Jr., not random guys, but more role players, could be the more value there. Kevin Porter Jr. projected for 32 minutes. He was a sneaky guy with a triple-double early in the season when they were a little bit more shorthanded. And he's got a pretty good matchup here going against Denver, who's also dealing with their own injuries. Nikola Jokic, doubtful here. He's missed the last 6 games, I think. Aaron Gordon, going to be a game-time decision. I think he missed last game as well. So it could be the Jamal Murray show. We've seen him play really, really well in the last few games. And now he's got a really, really weak matchup with all the injuries to the Milwaukee Bucks. So definitely some good spots for some higher projected minutes on the Milwaukee side of things, and then more opportunities for some of these main guys on Denver without Jokic in the lineup. And then finally, we got Boston and Phoenix. Jason Tatum with that ankle roll, probably not going to play today. Very, very theatrical and dramatic when he rolled it. As a Celtics fan, not very excited to see that. But good to see the reports that he was, laughing in terms of the locker room after the game. He didn't leave the stadium with a boot on or anything like that, and they're just calling it an ankle sprain at this point. But with that said, they're going to be a little bit more cautious with it. He probably won't play this game, so we're probably going to see a lot more of these guys stepping up. Other than the injury report to Tatum, Xavier Tillman, not a guy that gets a ton of minutes on this team, should be ready to go and relatively healthy without Tatum there. So definitely could be some good spots in a weaker defense, this Phoenix team that has been a little bit better recently, but overall, their defense is not amazing. So guys like Derek White, Jaylen Brown also dealing with his own type of injury, that knee injury that kept him out for a few games. He hasn't looked great lately, so Derek White, Porzingis, guys like Peyton Pritchard that are going to get a lot of time and have a little bit of a weaker matchup could be the play here. Then for Phoenix, the last one here, really, really diving into this injury report. Bradley Beal still out for this team. We've really seen to be the Kevin Durant and Devin Booker show. We're going to see a lot of Brian Dunn. He's been pretty good in terms of hitting his lines. Now Boston's a better defense here, but obviously Jason Tatum being out hurts that a little bit. But a lot of guys do tend to step up for this Boston side of things. It's a 4.5-point spread in favor of Boston, but in Phoenix, Ryan Dunn, even Nick Richards could be a pretty solid look here. The main guys I'd probably be looking at, though, would probably be Ryan Dunn and then the 2 stars. So that's what we got going on for the injury report. Kind of did a deep dive into that just because there are so many, and I think there's a lot of good angles. So we're not going to talk about all those different type of players, but I do like to point that out, give you guys some knowledge on what we got going on in terms of guys potentially getting more minutes, potentially getting less minutes, because it's getting kind of crazy in the NBA as we wind down the season. All right, so hopping into Props Madness to actually start diving into some plays here. If you're checking this video out and you're like, damn, I got to try this tool out because of how powerful it is, all the different type of information it gives you, how players score their points, how certain teams defend that, where players get their shots, how teams defend that, similar types of players and how they performed against their lines on points, on rebounds, assists, threes, whatever it might be. It's an awesome tool. It's very powerful, and it's very fun to use. So if you want to check out Props Madness, use my link in the description down below. Use code RICH. You get that free week. You also get 25% off your first month or your first year. And I'm super excited to do it for WNBA, where there's less volatility in terms of minutes, players being injured because there's less games, there's less teams, and you see a little bit more consistency from these WNBA players because you don't deal with all that load management and really all the injuries we dealt with this year. So definitely check out Props Madness. And we're going to use this to check out our first play, which is going to be Tyrese Halliburton over his double-double. I think you've probably heard this 15 times today, but it's just so weird to me that this is still a normal play. Now, you see his assist line is at minus 142 on the over. So they're favoring the over very heavily on a lot of these different sports books. If you go over to OddsJam and see Halliburton's assists, you can see a lot of books at 10.5. Anyone that's at 9.5, like FanDuel, minus 142 on the over, which I do like to see. But if you want to check out the double-double line, you're still getting normal plays here. Still available on Betr, still available on Dabble. Those are fixed payout systems. They're favoring it as a 50-50 play. And then you get these other books that aren't giving the unders, maybe a little bit more juiced on the over on DraftKings, but minus 120 on FanDuel, minus one, I guess they're pretty juiced on these other books, but really Betr and Dabble, and then again, FanDuel for the double-double. Very, very good value here. So not sure why it's still there, because he's hit it in, I don't even know how many games this is, 10 straight games, 11 straight games in a row, and now he's got a very soft matchup to get some assists. You can see how they defend the paint, 20th in terms of defensive ranking in that restricted area defense in terms of allowing assists. Above the break threes, they're more of a mediocre matchup, and they're in the non-restricted area, paint area within the three-point line. They're ranked 21st there, but really this Lakers defense without AD is getting a really, really weak down low. We've seen a lot of guys score a lot down there. So you can see similar types of players. James Harden only had 8 assists, but he did have a 9 and gone over his line. Tyrese Halliburton on February 8th had 9 assists. So similar types of players to Halliburton, how they get the assists over this in 5 of 8 games. But point guards, recently we saw Corey Joseph get 5 assists against this team. Chris Paul had 8 assists in limited minutes. Tyus Jones, 5 assists. That's, where very limited minutes as his minutes keep taking a hit. Devin Booker, 11 assists. Westbrook, 7 assists. Lillard with 10 assists. So these guards are being able to go over their line. 60% of just point guards are going over their line. So Halliburton, a very weak matchup here. Again, this is for the entire season, but without AD down there and really just Jackson Hayes and LeBron kind of trying to defend the paint, maybe Rui Hachimura a little bit. This is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and that's his main assist zone with 36% of his assists coming there. Then you start talking about his points. Is he going to get 10 points? Sure, he's kind of, a little creeping over here with 14 some of these games, but Halliburton really hitting his stride, and the Pacers look really, really good. If I'm the books, I'm shaking. If I'm the Bucks here too, shaking my boots about the double-double line. But if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, a team that lost to the Pacers last year in the playoffs, I'm shaking my boots with all the injuries. Damian Lillard now, question mark for the playoffs. The Pacers are hitting their stride in a good time, and Tyrese Halliburton's a big part of that. So double-double here. Don't overthink it. I think this is a great play, and I think a lot of people are going to be on it, but for good reason. His assists are awesome. He's been very consistent, and he's got a weaker matchup here. Next play I'm looking at is going to be Ivica Zubac over his rebounds and assist line at 13.5. He's hit this in 58% of games. I went to this about a week ago, kind of similar line. Because he's been a rebounding machine, he can definitely chip in with some dimes when he gets the time in the court. And if you think about this game, it's the Clippers versus the Knicks. This is in Madison Square Garden. Without Jalen Brunson, it's a 4-point spread. Both these teams are battling for playoff positioning. Hopefully we don't have to deal with any blowout potential. And he's projected for 34 minutes in this game. So that's going to be the first thing I go to, because with 32 plus minutes in the game, if this game's close, if it goes to overtime, I do expect him to be on the floor for that. He's hit this in 79% of games when he's getting 32 plus minutes. And I think we're going to see a situation like that today. So obviously the hit rate on this is awesome. Why do I like this matchup for him? To really get the rebounds. If you can chip in with 2 or 3 assists, that's great. But we're really looking at the rebounds here. I just like the time on the court and how that translates to his assists. And it's a difficult matchup. And when you look at rebounds allowed, they're ranked 4th, this Knicks team is. Now with Mitchell Robinson in the lineup, you could argue that could be even a little bit worse. But I actually argue that that's actually a better situation here for us. We did see Zubac and the Clippers go up against this team kind of recently, and that was a game we didn't see Brunson. We also didn't see Mitchell Robinson, who is a game-time decision. If Mitchell Robinson's not there, we have the data point to look at, the head-to-head matchup that he did go over 17 rebounds and assists here with 14 rebounds on 24 chances. He also chipped in with the 3 assists because he was on the court for 39 minutes in that game, in a game they won by 10 points. But if Mitchell Robinson is active here, I don't think that's a bad thing, because Zubac is going to be battling down low with him, a bigger guy that's not going to spread the floor, as opposed to, Karl-Anthony Towns being the only center that they really got out there, and Precious Achiuwa, who can both kind of spread the floor a little bit more, especially Karl-Anthony Towns, and that would take Zubac out of the paint a little bit more. So he's able to go over this in this situation without much Mitchell Robinson on the floor, but if Mitchell Robinson does play, I like this play even a little bit more, I do think. So you can talk about the rebound chances being hard. Rebounds allowed for this Knicks team, they are ranked 4th. But in this much time in the court, the hit rate's awesome. You talk about the injury news to this team. Sure, James Harden's a game-time decision. I do expect him to play, especially considering the spread of the game right now. And with all 3 of these guys active, Norm Powell, Kawhi, and obviously Zubac, but also Harden, we're going to see a 78.6% hit rate. And again, these difficult rebound matchups, that's where Zubac thrives. He's a rebound machine. He's a true center. And even in these difficult matchups, he's a guy that's going to be battling for those rebounds, and he does get a lot of them. So opponent rebounds allowed, we can go to the bottom half of the league or top half of the league in terms of not allowing rebounds, and he's still over this in 75% of those games. So I do like this matchup for him, even though it's considered more of a difficult matchup to grab some boards. He was able to do it recently with all these guys active. I think it's going to be a close one. I think he's going to get a lot of time in the court, and I'm liking this spot for Zubac to grab some boards. Chip him with 2 or 3 assists, that'd be great. Any more would just be icing on the cake for us. Jumping to our final official video pick. Now, I do have another pick in this game on the Milwaukee side of things, but that's going to be a lean, something I want to look into a little bit more, but something I'm very confident in as well. But we'll start with Jamal Murray here at the 9.5 rebounds and assists. That will be the final official video pick, and he's been hitting this line pretty consistently, and it's because Jokic has not been in the lineup recently. So you see games that Jokic is not in the lineup. He's over this in 6 of 9 games. With Jamal Murray, the ball is going to be in his hands. He's a guy that they need to rely on, especially if Jokic is not going to be here, or in the playoffs, if they're going to be a team that's going to be contending for a championship, like we saw them do, the past 2 years, 3 years, 4 years even. He's the X factor for sure. They need him to be reliable. They need him to be consistent, and he's been able to do that in terms of rebounding and assisting without Jokic on the floor. Now, why am I not liking his points? Well, first of all, without Jokic in the lineup, he hasn't been hitting his points line very consistently. In the last 2 games, he has been really good, and that's the type of player that the Denver Nuggets want to be able to see, the guy they were able to see when they did win the championship and went on that crazy run. But he hasn't been that guy this year. He hasn't been that guy last year. Obviously, the injury to him the past few years has been hurting him a little bit. So he hasn't been consistent as scoring the ball as he is rebounding and assisting without Jokic on the floor. And it makes sense. Jamal Murray and Jokic play off each other. Jokic is going to set Jamal Murray up for some easy looks, whether it's a three-point line, cutting to the basket, pick and roll, whatever it might be. Without his main guy that's going to be setting him up, the scoring takes a little bit of a hit. Now, I'll be lying if I said I didn't want to look at his points, because I think he's got a pretty good matchup here going up against a team without Giannis Antetokounmpo and a very weaker pick-and-roll ball-handling team. Could be an opportunity for Jamal Murray to score some points if he's feeling himself like he was the last 2 games. But with the hit rate on the season without Jokic, something I'm staying away from. But for the rebounds and assists, obviously looking really, really good. If you take a look at the entire season or the last 29 games, he's over this in 48% of them, but they are home. The hit rate gets a little bit better in terms of home games. So I do like the opportunity at the fact that he's home. Guys might shoot a little bit better. That might boost his assist potential. And if this game does stay close, it is an 8-point spread. And without Giannis and Damian Lillard on the floor for the Milwaukee Bucks, that's where you see the weirdness of these other guys stepping up. And whenever these guys are missing their top 2 players, and really just any team that's missing their top 2 players, it's always a good look to look at the other side of things, because these role players that step up and play a little bit more freely when these main guys aren't in the lineup and they're not defaulting to them, they're NBA players for a reason, and they can put the ball in the basket too. So hopefully this one stays relatively close, even with all the injuries to the Milwaukee Bucks side of things. But we got no Jokic on the Denver side of things as well. So hopefully this stays close. He can get the time in the court, chip in with some rebounds, which he's been able to do the past 4 games going over that line. Definitely do his damage in terms of assisting the ball, which he's been very consistent with without Jokic on the court. So I like the rebounds and assists at 9.5. In terms of the matchup and all these different filters, I'm not going to look too much into it, because without Giannis in the court, this team's going to look entirely different. Ninth in terms of restricted area defense allowing assists. That's going to look different without Giannis on the court. That's where 37% of his assists come from. And then a kind of a weaker matchup or more mediocre matchup in pretty much every other aspect of this team. And again, without Giannis, this changed the trajectory of this entire hit rate in the season chart for the assist defense. So something I'm kind of brushing over with the absence of one of the best defensive players in the league in Giannis not being in this game. So liking the rebounds and assists, that's where we're going to play it for Jamal Murray. If you want to go to his points and you do trust his scoring potential and what he's able to do the last 2 games, I think that's not a bad look either. Again, they're at home. He's going to be a little bit better at home. Now his points go down a little bit at home, but his rebounds and assists do get that little bit of boost, which is why, again, I'm kind of landing on the rebounds and assist line here. Now, in the same game, I do want to talk about Kevin Porter Jr. because the hit rate on this is not amazing. His assists has not been amazing, but the points and assist line, that's the one I'm going to look at for the lean here. It's at 20.5. I think it looks like everyone's got this 20.5. So 20.5 points and assists for a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., projected for 32 minutes in this game. If we're going to see that much time in the court, I'm not going to do the filters for the guys that are out. Obviously, no Lillard, no Giannis in this one. But in games that he's seeing that many minutes, let's say 27 plus minutes or so, there's not going to be much to look at. But he's still over this in 4 or 5 games. And he's got a weak matchup in terms of assisting the ball. This is the weakest defense in the entire league in terms of assisting the ball. How he scores the ball, if he's on this court for that much time, he's been able to score the ball, put the ball in the hoop, and he's going to be one of the main guys. This is a former Clipper, a former Rocket as well. We've seen flurries of Kevin Porter Jr. being really, really good. And I think he had a triple-double in one of these games. Now, he had a triple-double randomly during the season, but I guess It wasn't one of these games that he had this much time in the court. If you're going to put KPJ in the court for 32 minutes and put the ball in his hands, I think he's going to be able to score the basketball and definitely chip in with some assists as well, as we've seen. So the points and assists at 20.5, it's definitely a lean. I don't see a ton of games in this situation, which is why it's more of like a lean, but I think he's going to have the ball in his hands a little bit more, be the guy that's kind of running the offense off the bench. And Brook Lopez is line at 17.5. Kyle Kuzma, not a guy that I can trust. So this is kind of the next best guy to look at, and his hit rate in that much time is looking pretty good. So KPJ, a lean on the 20.5 points and assists. I think that's a pretty good look here. And if you get it at 19, was I looking at points and rebounds? No, I was definitely looking at points and assists. 20.5, if you find this at 19.5, wherever you can get the best value, that's where you should put it in. But I do think KPJ, again, this is a lean, but I do think KPJ in a pretty good situation here with that many minutes on the court. So that's going to do it for this one. We talked about 3 official plays. We talked about a lean. I also want to mention Luka Doncic here. First quarter points has been really, really good lately. He did this against the Pacers early on this season. We had 14. That was back in November, so he was a member of the Dallas Mavericks. His first quarter rebounds, he didn't get there, but I do like his potential here because he's been doing that recently as well on this Lakers team. So he's been getting 10 to 12 minutes really in the first quarters, even with LeBron in the lineup. So Luka, pretty good spot here to continue scoring the ball very early on in the game. First half props for PrizePicks and Underdog people, another good look. And again, first quarter points has been awesome. Minus 130, maybe a little bit too much juice there, but looks like it is available on a lot of different books. So wanted to point that out, maybe another lean here. Here's the recap of what we talked about in this video. KPJ was the lean at 20.5 points and assists. Tyrese Halliburton double-double. Zubac over his 13.5 rebounds and assists, and then Jamal Murray over his rebounds and assists at 9.5. If you want to go to his scoring, I think he could do that today as well, especially with all the injuries piling up for the Nuggets. Are we going to get MPJ in the game? Are we going to get Aaron Gordon in the game? I don't think Jokic is going to play, so he could definitely be the main guy in terms of scoring as well. But for rebounds and assists without Jokic on the court, that looks like the best one. And if this is a video that you kind of skip the injury report, maybe you just come to the end of the video and get the recap of what we talked about, I think it's definitely going to be advantageous to go back, watch the injury report. We talked about it for like 8 minutes, and I think I was looking at a lot of different guys that could be in a good spot to get some more minutes in this situation with the injuries to certain guys, some guys that are in positions to not get a lot of minutes for some potential unders. So if you didn't watch the injury report, I'd highly recommend going back and watching that one for today's video because we talked about a lot of different stuff there. So 6 games in today's slate, not the biggest slate in the world, probably going to be a little bit of a softer day for me, a little bit of a lighter day for me in terms of betting, just because I'm not seeing as much value as I have in the past few days. Ton of injuries, a little bit harder to predict, but we do have a few good games on the slate. So that will do it for me. Definitely check out the links in the description down below. If you want access to my Discord community, there's a step-by-step process how to do that. If you want access for free, there's a free month potential. You can get up to like 7 months free signing up for all my different PrizePicks, Underdog, Sleeper, all those different codes down there. I do get a little kickback my way, so I give it back to you in terms of a free month. So you can check us out. Check out the Discord for cool chat. You get the like-minded people in there, bounce ideas off each other. You get all my plays, all my straight bets, all my parlay type of plays on those different platforms. So if there's not one that you're on, definitely go ahead and use my code to sign up. I appreciate that. Let me know in the comments or in the free part of the Discord. Say, hey, I use your code, and I'll go ahead and get you that free month. And yeah, it's a lot of fun in there. And again, we're one of the cheapest in the industries at the end of the day, and we've been very successful. Like I showed my Pickett account earlier on, we've upped like 165 units or something in the year of 2025, so just 3 months. So we continue to kill it. Going to get these reads throughout the end of the NBA season. Going to start betting on some baseball as well, so that should be fun with just more value to look at on the boards with a lot of baseball games each and every day. So going to continue to ride it out. Thanks everyone for watching. Again, trying to get to 16,000 subscribers today. I think we can do that. If you guys are on the fence of subscribing, go ahead and do that for me. Of course, leave the video a like, comment something down below. It does tell YouTube to push it out a little bit more when you do that. So I appreciate everyone watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Good luck with all your bets. Peace out.